Imagine waking up one morning. Something feels strange. Your body won't move the way it should. Your hands and feet are gone, replaced by strange legs. And when you look in the mirror, you see a horrifying truth. You are no longer human, but a giant insect. This is exactly what happens to Gregor Samsa, an ordinary salesman who suddenly transforms into a strange, monstrous creature. But this story isn't just about a physical transformation. It's about loneliness, change, and how people treat you when you are no longer useful to them. At first, Gregor's family is shocked. His sister tries to care for him, but as time passes, their love turns into frustration. His parents, once dependent on him, start seeing him as nothing more than a burden. Gregor, trapped in his new form, slowly realizes a painful truth. He may never be accepted again. Will he ever return to normal? Or will he remain a forgotten creature, hidden in the shadows of his own home? This classic story will make you think deeply about life, family, and identity. And as we go through it, you will also improve your English, learn new words, understand storytelling techniques, and boost your language skills in an engaging way. So let's begin the metamorphosis and start this exciting journey of learning English through stories. Gregor Samsa wakes in his bed and discovers he has transformed into a giant bug. Wondering what has happened, he looks around his small room where everything appears normal. He sees the fabric samples that he uses in his job as a traveling salesman, a picture of a woman in furs that he tore out of a magazine and framed, and the rain dripping down outside his window. He tries to roll over and go back to sleep in order to forget about what has happened, but because of the shape of his back, he can only rock from side to side. Feeling sore from his effort, Gregor thinks about what a difficult job he has and the fact that his constant traveling prevents him from making any lasting friendships. He thinks that he would leave his overbearing employer, but he has to work off a debt that his parents incurred. He suddenly realizes that he has overslept and does not have a good excuse to give his boss. Gregor's mother reminds him that he has to catch his train to work. When Gregor responds, he finds his voice has changed. His father and Greta, his sister, join his mother at the door, urging him to get up and unlock it. Gregor twists and rocks, managing to turn sideways and dangle off the bed. Then the doorbell rings. It is the office manager, come to check on Gregor. Gregor rocks his body violently and finally tumbles to the floor. His family in the office. Manager come to the door to inquire if he is all right. Gregor's mother pleads with the office manager, telling him what a devoted worker Gregor is, while Greta cries in the next room. The office manager calls through the door and demands an explanation. He hints that Gregor's recent work has not been satisfactory and that Gregor's current behavior looks very bad, especially in light of rumors that Gregor may have stolen money from the company. Gregor claims that he had a dizzy spell and asks the office manager to spare his parents any undue concern. While Gregor tries to lift himself off the floor, the office manager and his family discuss the strange change in his voice, and his sister leaves to fetch a doctor and a locksmith. Gregor reaches the door, turns the lock with his mouth, and slowly pulls open the door. Seeing that Gregor is now a giant insect, the terrified office manager backs away, the mother passes out, and the father cries. Gregor delivers a long speech asking the office manager to put in a good word for him at work, since traveling salesmen often become the subjects of negative gossip, but the office manager continues to back out of the apartment. Gregor unsuccessfully tries to catch him as he flees and discovers how easily he can crawl on his new legs. The father then picks up a newspaper and the office manager's cane and drives Gregor back into his bedroom. Gregor injures himself when he becomes stuck in the doorway, but the father shoves him through and slams the door. Gregor wakes in the evening. He sees that someone has put a bowl of milk and bread in the room. Though milk had been his favorite drink, he finds he cannot stand the taste now. Then he listens for his family, but the apartment is completely quiet. He recalls the pride he felt at taking care of his family and wonders what will happen to them now. Someone cracks the door open but shuts it immediately, and Gregor eventually sees the light go off in the other room. He crawls under a small sofa and drops into a fitful sleep, vowing that he will do everything he can to make his new condition as small a burden on his family as possible. In the morning, Greta opens the door but shuts it when she sees Gregor under the sofa. She reopens it and steps into the room. Noticing that Gregor has not eaten, she brings in various kitchen scraps and leaves Gregor to eat alone. He enjoys the moldiest food but has no interest in the fresh vegetables. Greta returns a little while later and sweeps up the scraps while Gregor watches her from beneath the sofa. A pattern thus begins, with Greta feeding and cleaning up after Gregor and reporting to the mother and father how much Gregor has eaten. Gregor spends much of his time listening to the family through the door. He learns that the money he regularly gave his parents has not all been spent, and he feels proud of his contribution to their well-being. To avoid spending this savings, however, the family members will need to find employment. Gregor feels embarrassed when he hears them discuss this topic, as the father has become out of shape and clumsy, and the mother has asthma, so neither seems very capable of working. Gregor also reflects on his relationship with his family, recalling how he and his parents had grown apart, but that he and Greta had remained close, so much so that he had planned to send her to music school to study the violin. Gregor slowly adapts to his new life. He begins to enjoy scurrying around his room and climbing on a chair to look out the window. Though Greta continues to look after Gregor, he notices that she cannot stand the sight of him, and he hides behind a sheet draped over the sofa when she enters the room. The parents avoid coming in, though they seem curious about his state. The mother in particular is eager to see him, but Greta and the father urge her not to. Greta sees that Gregor enjoys climbing up the walls and across the ceiling, so she decides to remove the furniture from the room to give him more space. While the father is out, Greta and the mother start taking out furniture. Gregor hides as usual, but he grows anxious as he hears his mother worry that she and Greta might be doing him a disservice by stripping the room of his possessions. Greta, however, considers herself the expert on Gregor and overrules the mother's objections. While Greta and the mother talk in the living room, Gregor, panicked at the thought of losing all the remnants of his human life, climbs the wall and covers the picture of the woman in furs to prevent it from being taken away. The mother spots Gregor on the wall, goes into a panic, and passes out. Greta yells at Gregor as he lets go of the picture and scurries into the living room. Greta rushes out, grabs medicine, and returns to Gregor's room, shutting the door behind her. The father returns, and Greta tells him that Gregor broke out. He misunderstands Greta and thinks Gregor attacked the mother, so he starts chasing Gregor around the room. Gregor notices that his father has become a new man since getting a job as a bank attendant. He stands straighter and looks cleaner and healthier. The father throws fruit at Gregor and eventually hits him with an apple that becomes lodged in Gregor's back. The mother bursts from the bedroom and Gregor rushes for the door, hearing his mother beg his father to stop. Analysis, the question of how much of Gregor's humanity remains, dominates the second section of the story. As the members of the Samsa family adapt to the new situation with Gregor, each one appears to develop a different perception of how much humanity remains in him. At the beginning of the section, for instance, Greta leaves milk for Gregor, apparently, assuming that his preference for milk while he was human continues now that he's a bug. The assumption suggests that Greta believes, at least initially, that some part of Gregor remains the same. But as she recognizes that Gregor's tastes in food have changed and that he now likes to crawl about the walls of his room, Greta gradually begins to conceive of Gregor as an insect. In response, she suggests taking all Gregor's possessions out of his room to eliminate obstacles to his crawling and to make the space more suitable to an insect. The mother, on the other hand, protests that Gregor will want his things when he returns to his former self, and earlier in the section she even refers to Gregor as her unfortunate son, implying she still believes Gregor to be fundamentally the same despite his appearance. The father gives no indication that he regards Gregor as the same and attacks him as though he were a wild animal when he escapes his room. Gregor's confused feelings about his family and his own humanity appear again as he listens to Greta play the violin to the boarders. Gregor has a strong reaction to the music, so strong, in fact, it appears to make him feel distinctly like a bug, as he wonders if his great attraction to the music derives from the fact that he is now an animal. But his feelings for Greta point to lingering feelings from his human life, as he still loves Greta and wants her to know it, leading him to imagine a tearful scene in which he locks Greta in his room and tells her he had intended to send her to the conservatorium. The scene also suggests that Gregor still has the desire to take care of his family financially. Notably, however, in his fantasy, Gregor is still a bug while he speaks to his sister, despite the fact that he has not been able to speak properly since his transformation. This detail signals a conflict in Gregor's sense of his own identity, as he is not fully insect or human in his fantasy.